This is Jess over at Old Silver Arrow. Thanks for dropping by and saying hi. I was in a filming mood today, so if you notice that I just keep wearing this sweatshirt in videos, one, this is one of my favorite Christmas gifts that I got this year, Ohio State. It's like a vintage sweatshirt. It's so cute. My sister-in-law picked this out for me. It's wonderful. If you see me wear the same outfit over and over in videos, just know that I'm not the type of person that believes once you've worn it in a video, you can't wear it again. I don't care about that. So prepare to see the sweatshirt all the time. This is like my favorite comfy outfit. This video is for tackling the physical TBR. And in order to do that, I have to be accountable to how large my physical TBR actually is. It doesn't have a shelf to sit on. It's over in the corner. I'm gonna bring it over here and I'm gonna show you every book on it and what my plans are for each one. Editing this is gonna be terrible. So I've decided we're gonna do this in sections because in my head, they're divided up into sections, so I feel like it makes the most sense to kind of show you my system in the stack. So the first thing we've got, these are all the books that I've ordered from my Book of the Month subscription service that I have not yet read. Keep in mind, my January box has not arrived yet, which means there are 2 more of these babies coming to be added to the stack. Okay, so this is The 13th Child. This was one of my December Book of the Month picks. It looks a little bit spooky to me. It's giving dark fairy tale vibes, which is exactly why I chose it, because I like a little spooky something in the deep winter months. It's been snowing for the past 24 hours here, so I feel like after I finish Attached at the Hip, which is a romance that I'm reading right now, I think this one might be the one I pick up next. So one of my biggest goals with the TBR is to tackle all of my Book of the Month picks first, because, you know, they were intended to be read at a certain time, and I obviously didn't do that. So I'm gonna try to knock them out so that they have their own little shelf. The next one we have here is The Rewind. This is a second chance romance. It's New Year's themed, which is one of the reasons that I picked it. It's basically a time travel book, hence The Rewind. It's supposed to be really interesting. It looked fun to me. It looked like one of those fun, happy reads that would help me get through the semester. I tend to read a lot of really heavy materials while school is like in session. So if I can have like a happy, fun romance during that time, it really helps me to separate work from my hobbies. So that was the goal with this one. This book I've had for an embarrassingly long time. I don't remember which month I picked this, but it was a while ago. This is A Fate Inked in Blood. This is a Norse mythology book, which last semester I was taking a Norse mythology class, so I was really excited to read this, and then it was too much like the work I was doing, so I think I only read, let me see, I only read 16 pages of this, and I don't remember it anymore, so I need to start over. I need to just pick this up and sit down and do it. I'm no longer in the Norse mythology class, like that's over, so this should be fun and not work related anymore. Fingers crossed. It looks fantastic. I've seen so many people say wonderful things about this book, so I'm gonna do my best to get to this as soon as possible. Then we've got this one, and she's monstrous, guys. This is The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. I didn't have a copy of this book. I read The Secret History a couple of years ago and I absolutely adored it. You know, dark academia is my vibe. Donna Tartt's writing, I fell in love with it, but this is a monster of a book. Look at that. This was one of my add-ons a few months ago, just because, you know, Book of the Month does add-ons for like $11.99, and for a giant hardcover like this, like that feels like a steal to me. So I got this. I'm thinking this might be a February read. I'm hoping so. I think I can do this in February. It's a short month. I can just tackle it in chunks. I don't know if this follows the system of Donna Tartt's extremely long chapters. If so, wish me luck. But I'm really excited to get to this and to read another masterpiece by Donna Tartt herself. So, fingers crossed. Then we have The Road of Bones, which I chose simply for the cover. It looks fantastic. A couple of people that I follow over on TikTok have read this book and said really good things about it. Viking-inspired romantic fantasy, and it's also got like rune magic and things like that. I don't remember the exact synopsis, but it looks fantastic. It's right up my alley. Just like A Fate Inked in Blood, I'm really hoping to get to this as soon as possible It's another one of those that seems darkly magical enough that it'll make for a really good winter read for me, because that's the type of book I like to read in the winter. It will all depend on what my workload looks like for the semester, so wish me luck. And then this one has been on my shelf the longest. This is What the River Knows. The second book is out now, so I really need to read this to decide if I want the second one or not. This was really popular like in March of last year, and so I picked it up, never got to it. I was never in the mood. I don't know why, but this is gonna be one of the ones that I pick up and I finish this year. No exceptions. We're gonna get to it. We're gonna get to it. The next category we've got is the Christmas present category. So I will take you through these. My parents graciously bought me like 5 books off of my list. I ask for books every year and they're always like, are you sure you don't want something else? And I'm like, no, I don't. So first, we've got Song of the Huntress. Does this not just look magnificent? You'll probably be noticing a theme here. This takes place in Britain in 60 CE, when the Romans are still occupying British territory, right? So this is before the fall of the Roman Empire. It looks fantastic. I'm so excited. Look at this. Does this not just give Riders of Rohan to you? Because that's what it was giving me when I saw the cover for the first time. So this was a gift from my parents. Then we've got The Drowned Woods, which is inspired by Welsh mythology, if I'm not mistaken. If I am mistaken, correct me. But this is by Emily Lloyd-Jones, and I read one of her other books. Oh, it's sitting right here. The Wild Huntress. This one, I loved this one. So I wanted to get her, I believe this is her first book. I could be wrong. She only has like 2 or 3. But I really wanted to read this one. So this is high up on my list. Also, you'll notice a pattern with my TBR. I have so many like mythological based books. Very exciting. Another gift from my parents, this is The Last Unicorn, which was one of my all-time favorite animated movies as a kid, but I've never actually read the book. I only recently found out that it was based on a book. So if you haven't seen that movie, go watch it. I demand it. It's so good. I still have the DVD around here somewhere, but I'm really excited to get to this one, and it's one of those things where if I see the movie first, then I tend to love the movie more, so I really hope it lives up to this like hype that I've given it in my head, if that makes sense. I'll try to treat it as a separate thing, but that's probably not gonna happen. Okay, next I've got a couple of books that I bought with Christmas money in Chicago when I was traveling for the new year. The first one I got at the Barnes & Noble sale because they just opened a brand new gorgeous Barnes & Noble in a bank in Chicago. It's like the first big one that's not directly linked to a college. Beautiful, wonderful in there. But they were having their annual sale, so I bought Don't Let the Forest In, which I've seen TikToks about. I don't know exactly what it's about, but it's like magical forest body horror. I'm getting House of Hollow vibes from this, which if you remember House of Hollow from a couple years ago, that book was fantastic. Same vibes. So I'm really excited for this one. And it's pretty thin, so this might get picked up sooner rather than later. I almost hit myself in the face. This one I also picked up at the sale. This is Welcome to the Hunamdong Bookshop. And it just sounded so cozy. So this is about a girl who kind of leaves behind her job and everything that she was doing with her life to open a bookstore in Korea. And it just feels like a cozy starting over with the life you actually wanted to live book. And I feel like I really need that right now. And I don't know if you can see, but the cartoon cover is super, super cute. Like, look at the little people in the drawings. It just feels cozy. Like, it's the bookshop that you wish was open till midnight so that you can go whenever you feel like. You know what I mean? The girls that get it. But, so I'm hoping to start this one really soon as well. Then there's this beauty. My brother bought me this. The new fancy copies of The Silmarillion by Tolkien. And look at the writing on the side and the sprayed edges. Green is my favorite color. My entire desk setup is like bamboo and green, this color green. So this is absolutely gorgeous. I have a paperback copy of this book, but it's kind of beat up, and I've like taken notes in it because if you haven't read The Silmarillion, it's not a book that you can just read without taking notes of who's who and what's going on. It takes place in the first age of Middle-earth, and it also covers like Tolkien's creation myth for the whole world. It's beautiful, wonderfully written. It came with a little poster. There's a map on the inside. This was plastic wrapped when I opened it. Oh my goodness, gorgeous, love. This is beautiful. It made me want to reread The Silmarillion, so maybe we will. This is definitely going to be like the nice copy that I keep though. It's going to go right over on the shelf with my collector's edition of The Hobbit, so yeah. Now, these last two are also gifts from my parents, but they also bought me this beautiful copy of Murtagh. And look at the sprayed edges on this one. It's absolutely flawless. I had to have this. I didn't have a copy of this book at all yet, and I haven't read it, so I'm really excited to do so, but I feel like I'm going to have to reread the entire Inheritance cycle before I do. Those were some of my favorite books as a kid. When the fourth one was coming out, which the fourth one is called Inheritance. I read the first three right before that book came out, the final one. So I have 3 paperbacks and a hardcover. And I remember begging my parents for an early Christmas gift because I was like, I can't physically wait until Christmas to start reading the final book. So they gave it to me early. And now, you know, it's kind of come full circle. They bought me this pretty one. So I'm really excited to get to this. But I do feel like I might reread the whole series before I get to it. But we'll see. And this one, cutie. This is the Book of Bill by Alex Hirsch. It goes along with the Gravity Falls universe, and I have a copy of Journal 3. My brother and I grew up watching Gravity Falls together and cracking the codes and just having a grand old time. It's one of my favorite shows of all time. I rewatch it every summer, and so this has just been so nostalgic to look through. I need to spend a lot more time with it and find all the little hidden secrets and go through the website and just poke around, but I'm really excited to spend some time with this. This isn't on my TBR as like a, you know, just like read cover to cover. This is like a puzzle fun thing for me, so I just wanted to show it off. And then the final book that I bought while I was in Chicago is this one. This is Attached at the Hip by Christine Riccio, which, I mean, the OG booktubers and booktube watchers know Christine is a phenomenon. This is her 3rd book. This one is a fun romance book, and it's based on Survivor, the TV show. So basically our 2 main characters have been cast onto a Survivor spin-off called Attached at the Hip, where there's like romantic potential and you're tethered with 3 feet of rope to another person and you can't take the tether off or you lose. So it's been really fun so far. I'm about 95 pages into this book, and I'm really enjoying it so far. So that's the last book that I got for Christmas. I bought this one for myself, but you know. Okay, moving on to the next stack. Let's see what else we've got here. So here's the next part of the stack. Let's get into it. So the first book we have here is Starting Point by Hayao Miyazaki. I'm a huge Studio Ghibli fan. Like, I can't get enough of those movies, and I watch all of Miyazaki's documentaries because I think, you know, his grumpiness just really fits the way that I think of my own craft. This is actually a library book that I checked out, so I need to finish it and get it back there. But then when I was at a different bookstore last year, I bought the sequel, which contains the rest of his interviews from 1997 to 2008, and it's called Turning Point. So same difference, but I need to get through the first one before I start reading this one that I own. So there's that. Then there is Little Women. This is the kind of fancy copy that I bought myself last year. I've never actually read Little Women, which is kind of a crime. But I watched Greta Gerwig's 2019 movie adaptation, and my mom has read this book and loved it for years, so I really want to get around to reading it. It's on my Classics TBR for this year. This was a birthday gift for me last year from my brother and my sister-in-law. This is Where the Dark Stands Still, and it just looked magnificent. I don't know anything about it, but it's giving Dark Forest vibes with a slightly, you know, a slightly brighter tone than some of the other ones that I've showed you. So I'm really excited to get to this one. It's come with me on a couple of vacations, but I just haven't gotten around to it yet. So we shall see where we get with that. This is one that I bought in New York a couple of years ago. This is The Bookshop of Yesterdays. I remember reading the first few pages. I don't remember what it is exactly about. I just know that there's a bookstore involved and the main character is like wandering through it and thinking about their past and their childhood memories. It reads a little bit more like, this gives me nonfiction vibes even though it's not nonfiction, so we'll see where it falls in the whole TBR. I do enjoy nonfiction books, so that's not like a dig or anything like that. It's just definitely a different vibe than the books I've been interested in reading recently. Then we've got Tress of the Emerald Sea, Brandon Sanderson. This will be my first Sanderson book in the Cosmere. I haven't started the Cosmere at all. I read Steelheart and those books when I was a kid, and I liked Sanderson's writing, but I heard from a bunch of people that this was a good place to start if you weren't 100% sure you wanted to get into the Cosmere or not. I figured this standalone would be better for me time-wise than it would for me to start with like a whole big series that I'm gonna feel obligated to finish. So I want to get to this, but I know once I start reading this that it's gonna suck me in and then I'm gonna have to read all of them. So I've been putting this off, but this year I don't want to put it off anymore. Then this is a book I bought on eBay a few years ago. This is The Mists of Avalon. The reason that I haven't read it is because A, it's huge, and B, it's gotten a little bit close to the work that I do. I was in a class on medieval women last semester and we focused on some Arthurian legends and things like that. Arthurian legends are a little bit later than the time period that I work on, but I still do engage with them quite a bit. So I just haven't gotten around to reading this yet, but like I said, I'm not putting these things off anymore. We are tackling the physical TBR. Oh look, a book of the month bookmark hiding in between all these. Then we have The Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne. A friend recommended this book to me. She's been trying to get me to read it for a long time so we can discuss it, and it's made me feel a little bit pressured, so I haven't gotten around to this yet. Girl, if you see this, I will get to it. We will have that discussion that you want to have. So we'll see. There's a second book now. There might be a third book, I'm not sure. But I've been hesitating to start series. There's a trend here. Next, we've got The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein. I might save this for October, we'll see. I've had this book for literal years, and I bought this while I was in college, in undergrad, and I just haven't gotten around to it. I don't know why. I love Kirsten White's writing, but it just hasn't hit the way it needs to hit yet. So I'm thinking September, October spooky season, we will get to this. And I am trying to rearrange my TBR in 2 sections for the different months. I'm a mood reader, so setting like a monthly TBR doesn't really work for me, but I'm gonna attempt it this year to at least mark 1 book per month that I have to get to. We've got These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. This will be my first Chloe Gong book ever. So I'm really excited to get to it. I don't have the second one yet, which I need to because for some reason I don't have the second book, but I do have Foul Lady Fortune, and it's got sprayed edges. I bought this back when Barnes & Noble used to have its 50% off hardcover sales, and I distinctly remember I already had this book and they didn't have the second one in the hardcover, which is what I wanted, so I bought this one instead, and I'm still missing the second book to this day. So if I read this one and like it, I will pick up the second book, and we'll see how that goes. You're starting to see the cracks in my collection, I'm so sorry. Then we've got Daughter of the Moon Goddess, which this book looks gorgeous. I bought this in Chicago a few years ago at one of the local bookshops that I really like. And it's, again, just one of those ones I haven't gotten around to, but the mythology behind this book is really interesting to me, so I'm going to get to it. It doesn't interfere with my work at all, so it shouldn't be like, you know, something that puts me off or holds me back. There's a second book now. I need to get around to it, and I need to get the second one. This is one of those books that I know I'm gonna like it, so I don't want to start it because then it will be over. You know what I mean? You know what I mean. Okay, continuing. This is getting ridiculous, but let's go through it. Again, there are no more sections anymore. This is just pure chaos at this point. So first we've got Legendborn and Bloodmarked. Bloodmarked has the pretty sprayed edges. I got this one on sale and there's a hair. It was so pretty that I had to get it. Legendborn was one of my good friends from college's like top rated book of the year a couple years ago, so I picked it up, haven't gotten around to it, picked up Blood Marked. I plan to marathon these, and then I'll get to talk to her about why she rated it her top book of the year. I'm really excited. I trust her judgment so much that when I bought it, I was like, I know this is gonna be good. So those are on my TBR for a back-to-back marathon. Then we have 2 books by Lauren Kung Jessen. This is Lunar Love and Red String Theory. These are both romance books. She was at a book festival that I went to, and I heard her speak on a romance panel, and I really loved what she had to say. She just sounded so interesting that I bought both of her books. These are both signed. They're beautiful. She was giving out gorgeous, gorgeous bookmarks that go with them, and she has this special stamp that she puts on all of the books that she signed. So you can see her signature, her doodles, and her signature stamp too. It was just so awesome to meet her. I'm really excited to get to these. Red String Theory is probably the one I'm most excited for. I had a friend who was at the festival also and also bought this book. Neither of us have read it yet, but we plan to do kind of like a buddy read for this one. And Lunar Love, I started last year and I'm going to finish this year. I'm really into it so far. It was just one of those ones that was, you know, right at the end of December, and I didn't quite make it. Then we've got In the Lives of Puppets by TJ Klune. I love TJ Klune. I've read Under the Whispering Door and House in the Cerulean Sea, so this is just the next book of his that I picked up, and I just need to get to it because look at that. It's so beautiful. So yeah, that's on the list. Then we have A Study in Drowning by Ava Reid. Ava Reid is one of my favorite authors. Juniper and Thorn was one of my absolute all-time favorite books. So I'm so psyched to get into this. I wish it was longer. I'm so scared that I'm gonna burn through it and then not have anything else to read of hers. I know Lady Macbeth just came out, so I do need to go pick that one up, but you know, we're trying to tackle the TBR before we acquire more books, except for Book of the Month because I pay for that. Then we've got this monster. This is Wheel of Time, the first in a 13-14 book series. High epic fantasy. I've had this since freshman year of college, and I've never been able to bring myself to start it because I know it will be all consuming once I do. But maybe we'll stop. Maybe this will be the year I stop putting it off. But look at it. It's like my whole hand. So we'll see. Then we have When the Moon Hatched. I got this like weird short copy. I should have bought the hardcover so that the pages aren't so small. But everyone on TikTok was loving this a few months ago, and I'm a sucker for anything with dragons on the cover. So I picked it up, and we're gonna see how it goes. Then we have A Gathering of Shadows and A Conjuring of Light. I have this whole series in a box set, and I read the first one last year. So I got to it. I've started A Gathering of Shadows very briefly, and this is a series that I'm looking to complete this year. I love V.E. Schwab. I've read almost all of her stuff with the exception of this series, so hopefully we can knock this out as well. I need like a solid week off so that I can just, you know, burn through these. Maybe that'll be spring break. I don't know. We'll see. And then we've also got The Prison Healer, which Sunny Kim recommended this series. I love her videos and her recommendations are always wonderful. So I picked this up probably a couple months ago and I just haven't got around to it yet. So this is definitely high up on my list. Then we also have The Poppy War, which would be my first R.F. Kuang book. I know, criminal. But the new edition just came out of this book and it makes me really sad that I don't have that one, but I need to read this and see if I want to complete the series. So many people have described this book as devastating. I'm not in the mood for devastating right now, so we're gonna have to see if it's my brand of devastating and if I want to continue on with the series and potentially buy the new covers because they're so beautiful. Just to clarify, I don't have this whole series, I only have this one, so we'll see. Now, this series I also have in a box set. I actually don't have the box anymore, just these. I've already read A Discovery of Witches, but I feel like I need to reread it in order to read these other two because it was a couple years ago that I read these. So I need to get to Book of Life and A Shadow of Night, but I'm gonna have to reread this one in order to understand what's happening in these two. But these are really good. They're excellent. I enjoyed them so much. This paperback copy is kind of falling apart because the glue is bad on it. But I plan to get around to this series as well this year. I think you see a theme. I'm afraid to start series, and my TBR really reflects that. Then this is a copy of Frankenstein that I bought because I've never read Frankenstein, which seems criminal. So I bought this copy. It's really shiny, it's really pretty. So I'm gonna get around to this probably in the October season, because why not? This is a book that my aunt sent me. This is called The Girl Who Drank the Moon. It's a young reader book. It's won a Newbery Medal for like children's books, but it's written by Kelly Barnhill, and I love everything that she writes. She writes mostly middle grade. I've read all of her middle grade stuff, but she did just release, well, not just release, it's a few years old now. She released an adult book called When Women Were Dragons, and I loved that book as well. So I'm really excited to read this. Her middle grade stuff reads really fast for me, but it's just so enjoyable. So we'll see how that goes. And then I also have Iron Widow, which Heavenly Tyrant just came out, and I haven't gotten around to reading this one yet. So this has been on my TBR for a couple of years since I bought it. We're tackling it this year. It's getting eliminated. It's gonna happen. Trust. And then finally, we have The Fragile Threads of Power by V.E. Schwab as well. So I need to complete the series, and then I need to read this book. But it's so pretty. It's beautiful. It's gonna look pretty on my shelf once it's done. And yeah. Hi, this is Editing Jess here, and I'm here to tell you that I left out a bunch of books that were hidden on another shelf in a different room. So here we go. This is Thornhenge. This is like a dark fairy tale. This is by T. Kingfisher, who wrote a bunch of other really interesting books. You should definitely check out her stuff. This one is tiny. I can't believe I haven't gotten to it yet. The other one that I still have to read is The Weaver and the Witch Queen. I read The Witch's Heart last year by the same author, and it was absolutely incredible. I loved every second of it. If you like the Norse sagas and myths, you will love these books. The two books are not technically related. These are both standalones, despite both having witch in the title. It can get a little confusing, but this is totally, I think it's going to be worth the read if it's even half as good as The Witch's Heart. So then we have this monstrosity. I've had this for 2 years. You'll notice there's a bookmark in it. I can't bring myself to pick it up if I know I don't have the time to just sit and do the whole thing. So I'm gonna get to this eventually, but it intimidates me, so I'm not sure. And then we have the prequel, which I got from an independent bookstore because it was on sale for like $10, and who can resist a $10 hardcover? Not me. This is not a bookmark, this is the receipt, so don't get your hopes up on how much progress I've made. Look at it, it's beautiful. I had to get it. But those are both on my list. Then this one is a crime. I've had a copy of Babel for 2 years, haven't read it. I've actually never read an R.F. Kuang book, which I think I said when I showed you the Poppy War. This I need to get to. In my opinion, winter is Dark Academia season, like from November until like April. So that's a high priority. Then there's this little baby, Divine Rivals, which I got when everybody was talking about it on TikTok last year, I think. And I never got around to reading it because I hid it on a shelf apparently and forgot it was there. But I need to get to this and see if I want to buy the other one. And then finally, we've got The Atlas Paradox, which is the second book in the series. I read The Atlas 6 2 years ago. Don't remember exactly what happened. Think I'm going to need a refresher before I read this one. So this will probably sit on the back burner for a little bit just because I'm gonna have to do a reread before I get to it. But yeah, so that's this whole stack. That should be all, hopefully. Here's what they look like all together. Yeah, it's a problem. So that's my TBR for the year. I will keep you posted on how it goes and what's gonna happen. I will count all these books and tell you how many there are, because it's an upsetting amount. I'm acquiring them faster than I'm reading them. That's not good. So yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. If you made it to the end of this video, comment how many books are on your physical TBR. I want to know that I'm not alone here. It was great to see you. Thank you for sticking around, and I will see you next time. We're working on consistency this year, so hopefully I'll see you soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.